Welcome back to the State of Love and Trust. It's episode 256, and this week we're celebrating 19 years of Pearl Jam's self-titled record. You might know it as Avocado. Oh, what a peach of a record. Well, an avocado. And we're going to celebrate it by bringing back a really fun series called Superlatives. Remember from your yearbook? Most likely to win a fashion show, most likely to succeed. Well, how about best wow moment, best song live, most introspective lyric, best bass guitar riff, all those and more. We're going to debate with two friends, and we'll hear from the patrons and what they have to say. So stick around. It's Superlatives, Avocado style, next on the State of Love and Trust.
Hey, I'm Mike McCready from Pearl Jam.
Hey kids, this is Mark Arm from Mudhoney.
I'm Kevin Martin from Candlebox.
Hi, I'm Dave Cruzen.
I'm Tim Montana.
Hey, I'm James Joseph from James and the Cold Gun.
I am Matt Vaughn from Easy Street Records.
This is Richard Stuverud. And this is the State of Love and Trust.
The State of Love and Trust.
The State of Love and Trust.
Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. Feed that algorithm.
Welcome to another episode of the State of Love and Trust. It's a Pearl Jam podcast, and I'm one of your two hosts, Jason Kerepesi, and alongside me, as always, is
Paul Ghiglieri.
Oh, you're holding up the old CD, the old compact disc.
Why
are you doing that, Paul?
You are joined by an avocado tonight, Jason.
Evidently.
Because we're going to have to verify this story, but legend has it that the boys were sitting around watching the Super Bowl, and they felt so good about the recording of this record that they just decided, you know what, it's so good, we just throw an avocado on the cover for all I care. Had something to do with the chips and guac they were eating at the time.
I think it's a great
idea.
idea.
Legend has it, right?
I think it's a great idea.
If it's good enough for a Pearl Jam cover, it's good enough to co-host with you.
You're not seeing what I'm doing.
There you go.
Peekaboo! We're talking avocado this week, gang, because it's turning 19 in a matter of days. But before we get to that, we are going to say, please go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, all the YouTube things that they want you to do. Just past 2K subscribers. That's pretty freaking cool. Thank you very much for that. And that means more people are finding the content, finding the conversations. Why am I doing this? I don't know. And good times are had by all. And if you're listening only, Paul, what should they be doing?
They should be rating, reviewing, and subscribing on their preferred podcast platform of choice. Feed that algorithm. It's all out of avocados.
Oh, my goodness. My desk here is chock full of props today, Paul. I'm going to get to the next batch of them real quick. That is to say, if you want to donate some money to our monthly fundraiser, please go ahead and do that. Where are my notes? There they are. April's nonprofit is Autism Speaks. They do a great job. They dedicate their whole community and their lives to creating an inclusive world for all of those affected with autism, helping them through advocacy, services, support, research, and innovation, and advances in care for autistic individuals and their families. And I'll tell you what, you send in $5 or more, Paul. Well, not you.
Well, if you send in $5 or more, you can have the only 3 props that I actually have at my desk. One, two, 3.
There it is. I'm going to add a 4th. It's brand new, Paul. It's a guitar pick.
Oh,
look at that guy. Look at that. It's got 2 sides to it.
Hey, you know what? I don't even have one of those. How about that?
It's in the mail. It's in the mail. But all those things, and the pin, don't forget the pin. All those things could be yours for $5 sent in to Autism Speaks. And by the way, if you send in the most money, you'll get this guy. It's the Pearl Jam on SNL 92 vinyl 45 7-inch groovy, as the kids used to say. So this could be yours if you send in the most money to Autism Speaks. And by the way, one of our listeners, Royce, mentioned Autism Self-Advocacy Network. They're another great place to send your money. So if you're feeling super generous, both places feel extra special about yourself. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Worthy cause.
If you feel like supporting this show, keeping us on the air, then go ahead and hit Patreon or hit the old pod shop. Get one of these bad boys, or get one of these bad boys. You know, whatever floats your boat, whatever tickles your pickle. I don't know. We got something for everybody over there, and we thank you for that. Let's get to it. We've been talking about it. We've been talking about the old avocado, and when we have these anniversaries, Paul, we tend to want to talk about that record, and we have a few fun ways I'd like to do that. And this week, we're going to go ahead and go back to our superlatives. Who's got their boards? What board you got today? Do you
I'm
have the
going
adult
digital,
board?
as usual.
You went back to the child's board. Oh, if you haven't seen the yield superlatives, it made its debut over there. Now, to join us and help us, because we always have 4 people, and not just me and Paul do this, we're going to bring in a stalwart, a community veteran. It is the man who wrote this book right here. It is Brian Stipelman. What's up, brother?
Doing good. Thanks for having me back. Happy to be the 4th box on the screen.
Oh, you will. Well, you're the 3rd right now.
Well, I eventually the 4th.
Yes.
By the way, Stip is the only person to ever host this show in any capacity while simultaneously communicating with friends on our Discord.
That's true.
Look, at this point, I'm a veteran.
He's on it. Unless we forget, the man waiting in the wings, probably very annoyed because he had to hack weeds all day with his scythe, is the man that wrote this book. Oh my God.
That's
From his
a beaut.
basement. It's Brad Klausen. And it's also the man who wrote or made this. He shot this. Maybe I'll tell us the story again about the avocado. It's one Bradley Klausen.
Hi. Yes, it's true that I am complicit in that.
Brad, you are responsible for the 2006 Pitchfork top 10 worst album cover. Apparently,
Yeah.
I love
It's
it.
weird too.
You know,
to be associated with that.
Bradley, is your avocado half full or half empty? What do you think?
Or is it just the seed?
We're-
You know, because if you open it up,
Oh,
the
Shut the
album,
fuck up, man. Come on.
the CD is just the seed. You know, the pit.
It is. You're right. Okay. The pit.
The
The stone.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a stone fruit, right? Along with
Yeah.
cherries.
The one without the stone
Oh, boy.
is the reference.
So
I have
God
a
damn
confession
it.
to make. I've loved this album for 20 years. You can't see it; it's not in frame, but I have the cover up on my wall, and
Yeah.
I forgot until you just spun that record around that there was the core, like the pit was out on the back cover.
Yeah,
yeah.
The stoneless
It's right there
avocado?
in the middle.
Right, like
There it is.
stages. Yeah, it's deep. Do you understand the deep symbolism of that?
No,
There's
that's
no-
why we
Sex.
have you on.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
really complex thought going on there. One side it has the seed in it, the next side no seed, and then the next side is just the seed by itself. I mean,
I don't
that
get
is
it.
Put that in your
artistry.
pipe and smoke it.
Artistry.
yeah.
Yeah, your
In-house
your-
art director Brad Klausen.
Yeah. Brad's creative decisions here have
They paid you
literally
money for this.
Spawned millions of
it's-
conversations around
it's
Pearl
insane.
Jam's art. It's
Who best to then help us answer the superlative questions about this album than
The
Then
crazy
Bradley.
thing to think about, the thing that's crazy to think about was that when I was listening to the record, it immediately put me back to because I listened to the record nonstop for doing the album artwork, and I had to sit back and be like, that was like 20 years ago, and it seems like my life was at such a different place, and like it was just such an amazing aspect of like, have you heard those stories about people who have Alzheimer's, but they play music from like when they were young, and it kind of brings them to life. That ability that music has to kind of take you back to moments in your life. So that was it. Listening to it for this definitely took me back to that whole other place of when I was an employee and just 20 fucking years ago. It's a long time ago. I didn't think it was that long.
well, Stip is excited to have you on. Stip's like, finally I get to talk about a record with somebody who has something at least as interesting to say about it as I do. So
Like that man was in the room.
yes, he was.
somewhere Shihan and Kathy are like, what the fuck, man? All right, let's dive into it. So we've got a number of categories here. We all have our answers written down. We're going to jump through them, and then after the end of our chatter, we're going to tell you what the patrons thought. I actually forgot to do that last time. I had to do a separate Instagram video saying what the patrons answered. I'm sorry, patrons. I'm so sorry. But this time I'll remember. And these people will remind me if I don't do it. So first off, let's go with Bradley's favorite best bass riff.
Yeah.
Best bass.
Write it down, fellas. Write it down. This is where the fun music is interspersed.
I feel like I'm on the Snatch game.
The Snatch game.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the cable version.
Let's start up in 3, 2, 1. Ooh! By the way, I love that me and Stip are in lockstep. And Stip printed these out.
I did. I had a couple extra minutes at work.
Me and Stip with Army Reserve, Paul with Inside Job, and Bradley with Marker in the Sand. Brad, you go first. Why Marker in the Sand? And the verse riff, by the way.
Yeah, because it seems kind of fun, and I would think that most people would put parachutes, because that's that sort of playful Beatles-esque bass line. But the intro to Marker in the Sand has this fun, bouncy kind of thing that Jeff does with the toms that Matt is doing. It does this cool bouncy, and it seems like it would be fun to play. And I just like the way that Matt and Jeff are. That it's just a bouncy, fun little. It was the most interesting to me of the bass riffs. But I would think, like I said, parachutes, but then also the chorus in "Gone" has kind of a good little bass, playful bass line too. But that's my answer.
That's a good call.
Paul, what do you got?
I went with Inside Job. I mean, you listen to that intro, and it's got such a melody to it. I feel like it's one of those rare songs where you're listening to the guitars and they almost take a back seat to the bass. And there are some songs that do that well, like Jeremy and I guess, some would argue Nothing As It Seems, which is a Jeff song as well. But I think with Inside Job, there's this almost like elevated consciousness with that bass riff. Because when you think lyrically about that track, and which we'll get into later, this idea of kind of reconciling something within yourself that you recognize you had let fall by the wayside. And that bass line in the beginning, there's such it feels introspective. And it's almost, usually you'd have the bass kind of lays the bedrock for the song and then the guitars play off of it. It's the opposite way for me in the beginning, this intro. I feel like it's that piano line and Jeff who are laying essentially on top of the guitar bedrock. So it's always stood out to me for that reason.
Is it more playful to you?
I don't know if it's playful. The word that comes to mind is just introspective. There's a reflective nature to the bass, almost like there's a stream of consciousness to it that is echoed by the lyrics to me. I just think it's a beautiful pairing. So,
all right, Army Reserve, you and I, Stip. I want to know what you think that Army Reserve's bass line is so delicious and sumptuous.
This was a hard one for me to pick. Like, Avocado is a very like harsh, shrill sounding record in terms of the sound. Like the bass isn't that forward in quite a few of the songs.
Are you on Casper's mix or are you on Brendan's mix?
I think on either for this one.
Okay.
Or just in general, the bass is better, I think, on the O'Brien mixes. Or it's a little bit more prominent. You can hear a little bit more. It's a little bit chunkier. But it's pretty clear here. I love the kind of call and response relationship it has with the riff in the beginning and the way in which Jeff's bass is trying to ground the song while the riff is sort of like floating off, into the ether, kind of mirroring the state that the mother and the song is in, her attempts to stay present and focused despite the world making that impossible. Like the bass really serves the mood of the song, the themes.
Yeah, I think so too. It has like a deep pulse. It sounds terrible. A deep pulsating like propulsion to it, and because you have those twinkly guitars, kind of they're doing two different things. And once again, the way this thing is strummed, you can immediately tell it's a Jeff song, and it's got a reminiscent guitar strumming of like a Nothing Man, for example. And so you get that up here. And then Jeff's bass is just down here, and it's just moving everything along. And it's just super. When I listen to a song and the bass pops out immediately, that means it's a strong bass song for me. Because with mixes how they are and how the bass is generally a rhythm instrument. If I notice it from a melodic standpoint or even from a rhythmic standpoint, if it pops out, I'm going, okay, this was meant to be spotlit, and I think it is here. So I'm with you, Stip. I like Army Reserve. It's deep, it's thick, driving.
I think the bass
I
is
don't know why.
buried. I think you're right. I think listening to it, I think there's times where I wish the bass was more prominent for sure on a lot of tracks. But I think that's true of most modern music. I think like there's a lot of times where like I wish the bass was, sometimes especially if the drummer and the bass player are really locked in, it's tough to kind of split apart some of the stuff that they're doing. But and
that could be a mixing thing. That could be a what are you listening to it on thing. I mean, think about how many headphone and speaker manufacturers in the last 15 years have been just like tweaking up the bass in their. It's not flat anymore. It's like everything has a bass punch because people want to hear that more. So I wonder how the mixing plays into that. But anywho, let's stick with this theme. Let's go to most infectious groove. Everybody ready? Almost.
He's creating art over there. It takes a minute.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. 2 severed hands. I can't see. What do you got there, Stip? Worldwide Suicide 2017 mix. He even has the mix. I love it. So
there we go.
Stip, we'll go with you. Worldwide Suicide.
It's such a groovy song. It's danceable. It's bounceable. It's like they took that moment in Do the Evolution in the video. I think like the first transition where Death is dancing. She's doing her thing. It's like they took that moment and said, "What if that was the whole song?" And that's basically what Worldwide Suicide is. The first time I heard that song, like I was just bouncing in my chair. And Pearl Jam music does a lot for me, but that's not usually my first reaction.
I want to see you bouncing. I want video of this.
And it was playful and almost joyful in a way that drew attention in an inverse sort of way to how dark and horrifying in some ways the lyrics were. Like it's a great fit for what that song is about.
I agree. It's actually my honorable mention. Brad, what do you got?
I had Life Wasted. I don't know. I think that one just like I think always the banger out of the gate to sequence an album, to start with something like you want to have something that really hits them over the head. Like I think like Break or Fall on Binaural does that. I mean, Go is probably the best example of that. So I just think Life Wasted is the sort of the hookiest, most energetic. I would say Worldwide Suicide is right there with it too. But I don't know. I just like that riff and the that whole aspect of that song. If I was at a show and Life Wasted was on the set list, I would be stoked. I would be happy about that.
All right, Paul. So me and you tied up here.
We did.
Tell me why Severed Hand.
Gosh, well, I mean, first of all, it's hard to argue with Brad. Life Wasted is so good it shows up twice on the record. So you got that going for it.
So good they had to play it twice.
Yeah, exactly. So good they had to play it twice. I think with Severed Hand, you get those swells right at the beginning, that intro, those sonic swells, and then suddenly this just metal riff just kicks in, and it's
a wave breaking.
It is, yeah. I mean, once it hits, you know what I mean. Like you are the wave. You know what I mean, and it's hard to beat for me for that reason.
Yeah, I think there's a slingshotty effect. Like it just makes me do this. And it feels like the whole band is kind of yanking you around this whirlpool. And I think it helps that swelling crescendo thing happens first. I think it kind of it whips you into focus for the song.
You ever been to like a carnival by the beach or something like that, and they have that ride? It's like slanted and it goes in a circle, and you're like doing that. It's like they call it like the wave runner or something like that. This song I think is about LSD, but when you listen to it, it feels like you're like that would be the music video. It's just this thing.
My kids love that ride. It makes me want to throw up now.
I did it when I was younger, and I was like, "Nah, I'm good."
That's a young man's ride.
Bradley, I believe this song is the impetus for the poster over Paul's left shoulder.
Yes. Yeah. Severed Hand.
Wow.
Toronto 06, right?
There was there's a answer to one of your other questions that I'll save for that.
Well, okay.
But it ties it ties it exactly to your points you were making about this song. Anyways. But
I hope. Would you like to choose the next category then?
Well, Potter mentioned talking about videos. And
Okay.
There it is.
So there it is. Okay. Song that most deserves a music video that didn't get one.
I've already given my answer away.
You did. That's all right. That's all right. What did I write? Okay, here we go. All right, 3, 2, 1. Oh, Paul and I again. All right, so Brad, continue because you said severed hand.
Finish your story.
Stip said worldwide suicide, and me and Paul said severed hand. Oh, sorry, not severed hand. We said Army Reserve.
Worldwide suicide would also be another good one for a video. I had an idea for a poster for that song that I never fully finished.
By the way, if I may, there were 2 technically music videos. One was Life Wasted with the melty faces, right, and the marsh and the gook. Worldwide Suicide technically had one.
As I was very clear.
Yeah. The dude in
the globe doesn't count.
The dude like throwing the ball and then like the band. It's not even the studio track. It's like the rehearsal track is the video. Like it's basically the Showbox music videos for Riot Act. So they don't count. Anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry, Brad. Go ahead.
Oh, but I was just gonna say, you're talking about the whole like push and pull and the swirlingness of Severed Hand. To me, that song and to Paul's statement about it being about psychedelics, which it is. It would just be like going into that poster, like the camera would just be an animation of this person on this psychedelic trip, and you'd see them in their room and you'd see them in their home. And then as the trip started taking place, you'd see those dragons kind of being these recurring motifs that keep coming in. Like I could visualize the whole thing in my head. And like that intro is such a killer. Like it just has so many, sonic points and with the lyrics that you could it would be just a psychedelic animated, like Yellow Submarine type thing, but way more modern and way more cool. And I think it would be really
is
fun.
Is it this dragon, Brad?
It would be a much better version of that dragon. That dragon is poorly illustrated, I feel like, to some degree, but it would be a much more complex version of that. And even that idea of like, in the same way, like In Hiding, this is just a song about Eddie tripping. So it would be sort of the POV of him or an avatar of him, or just a person or an individual who's starting to go on this trip, and you'd be switching between their perspective, their point of view to the outside world and what they're seeing, what's happening to the room getting bigger and smaller to then just exploding into like a kaleidoscope of psychedelic stuff. So I think that song needs a video.
So then we need.
Did you pitch it?
Well, it's a little late. I feel like at this point we could be like, I should have pitched that then, but maybe if after the fact, they're like, sure, you want to take some animation projects, it's going to take months and months on end for a video from a song from 2006. Yeah. I would be stoked if they'd said that. I would be
send your storyboards to Korea. You'll see them in 8 months. All right, Stip, give me Worldwide Suicide.
So, I mean, Worldwide Suicide, actually, when I heard they had a video and then I saw what it was, I was like genuinely disappointed. Like that was a song that was just begging for, montages of like, starting with Mission Accomplished, just the entire debacle of Iraq, Afghanistan, the hubris of the Bush administration. You didn't necessarily need the narrative in the way that you might need it for Army Reserve, like just what you could have done with those images and headlines. It was a missed opportunity. Like I am still to this day kind of surprised they didn't just decide to make that to amplify the message.
Well, they didn't get the Target sponsorship until the next album, so they had to wait until they get the big money.
To your point about like Iraq and all that stuff, I had this concept, this sketch for forever that I wanted to do that was based off Worldwide Suicide, which either would have been like single packaging artwork or for like a poster, but it was basically like a raceway, but instead of NASCARs, it was like mechanical buffalo, and it was a bunch of cowboys and stuff like hunting buffalo, but they're like oil machines. The buffalo are basically like the idea of like NASCAR, that we go to war for oil, but then we'll watch cars go around in this crazy circle that are all utilizing all that, like the kind of dichotomy of the stupidity of that, of a NASCAR race, but juxtaposed with fighting, like stealing people's resources for oil. Someday I wish I could have still done it, but there was a similar sort of visual movie that I saw playing that dealt with kind of those themes of just Iraq and oil and,
this is in your piss and vinegar phase.
Yeah, very much. You bring up the Bush administration, is all that piss and vinegar comes
yeah.
in.
Well, I think why Worldwide Suicide would be so cool in that way, Stip, is because it's so macro. Like it's the entirety of what's happening. Whereas Army Reserve is one of the stories in that. It's the more specific, like personal tragedy, if you will. And so I imagine, Paul, you're going to agree with me that the narrative you could tell here.
Well, you can. I mean, it's this album verged on being a concept album for a period of time, which is fascinating to think that this would have been the one and only. What's the Who? Was it Quadrophenia? I forget the name of the. Is that the one that was a concept album for Tommy? Thank you,
Tommy.
So, I think a lot of what was left over once they got rid of a lot of the mid-tempo songs, you take the songs that have a protagonist in them, and this is one of them. Still are kind of left over from that iteration of Avocado. And there was a film that came out around this time. I don't remember if it was this exact year. It had Woody Harrelson and Ryan Gosling in it. It was called The Messenger. And essentially they were Marines. I believe that was the branch. And they had to go and let these civilians know that their children or their loved ones had died in the war. And it's just, that was the job, right? And it's the trials and tribulations and the burden and the heavy weight that comes with having to deliver news like that repeatedly for an extended period of time, and what your role is in helping to support someone through grief. And I just, whenever I listen to that song, I always think of that film, number one, but more importantly, I just think visually you can do so much with just communicating just the messaging of the song and the depth and breadth of its emotional core through the emotional reactions of a lot of these people. And you could literally just take actual people, and they can hold photographs of their loved ones and just just be on those people and let that, that there's a part of your soul that leaves you, right? And you see that vacancy in the eyes of somebody who's gone through that. And I think that, a song like this, there's just so many powerful directions. I just think it would have been a very affective, powerful video that we would look back on, or could have been, that we would look back on later and say, man, that is one of the top things I've ever seen them do with a song before. So,
and how about that outro where it's just the twinkly guitars and it's just the groove and it's almost monotonous in a way. You could go any which way with that. I mean, maybe that's the part where you do the actual families and you shift from the fictional representation to actual victims of this kind of circumstance. I don't know. I want to say that I did it. I forgot the patrons.
Oh,
you
we
did it
got to tell
again.
you. All right, so
we're going to go back real quick. I realized it mid Stip answer.
You are not incentivizing the homework, Jason.
I am not. I'm so sorry. Okay, so best bass riff by a pretty good margin, Severed Hand won. Most infectious groove, we got Severed Hand 3 times. We got couple of parachutes. Ooh. We got a comeback. We got 3 markers in the sand. So they agree with you on that one, Brad. Worldwide Suicide twice. So pretty good. In fact, the whole album got pretty much a shake there. And then music video. Where's music video? Oh, with 46% Severed Hand.
Yeah.
So
really,
the people think Severed Hand is the one.
they want your video, Brad.
They did.
And
make some calls.
Psychedelic animation.
Yeah. Second place was Army Reserve, I will say. So don't let me forget the 4 of you. I'm so in the conversation.
We're all guilty.
The Army Reserve video premise sounds like a tearjerker. It's heavy.
Not everything is rainbows and butterflies, Brad.
It's true.
I agree. I'm just saying, if that video came on, I'd be like, oh no, it's this really sad, heartfelt video. Like, oh shit.
Well, let's raise it. Let's raise it up a little bit. Let's do best showcase of skill.
Okay.
Best showcase of skill would be me remembering the patrons.
This was, I think, the second easiest question to answer. I don't see how there's anything other than one answer everybody can give
All right.
for this.
Oh,
Three.
good. Okay.
See, oh no, pressure.
Those are big words. 3, 2, 1.
Okay. For a second, I was going to say I live to disappoint you, Stip, but apparently not today. Not today.
Wait, hold on. Stip, did you say severed hand?
Yeah, I didn't
No,
realize it was
constantly
that was
showcase of
Brad.
skill. I didn't realize
So-
that the showcase of skill was individual player skill. I was thinking the song.
I mean, it
is
doesn't have to
the
be.
entire
Yeah,
song.
Whatever
yeah,
you want
I
it to
mean,
be. It's whatever you want it to be, Brad.
It could be
But-
whatever you want to be.
Now,
In
we
hindsight-
all chose Mike soloing to some degree. So, Brad, what did you put? Severed hand?
I put
Yeah,
severed hand because I was
did.
thinking of the songs that of the best showcase of the band as a whole, as a unit, as a songwriting team, and so I felt like that was the best to me showcase of the band's talent. But I have to totally agree. I think the showcase of talent individually is Mike's solos. I think Stip, I think you're absolutely right. That is the one and only correct answer to that question. If unlike me, you understand the question correctly. Like, I think that is true.
So-
I think there's stuff Mike does on this. I think it's in Life Wasted. That's just like some fast picking, tremolo picking, like, that's not even really a solo, but it's just this droning, and it's
Okay.
awesome. It's so good, and it's like it's not some shredding like crazy. It's just this sonic feeling of it. There's like I was telling you before. There's solos on this that I didn't realize. Like non-solos, I didn't realize were solos that are really stellar.
Or even just like 3 seconds where he like jumps into parachutes at the end, and it's like it's barely anything, but like
Yeah.
but it's like the perfect punctuation to that moment, like that emotional moment.
Is this the Mike album?
You know,
He's
It
written
might-
or co-written 3 songs. He's written lyrics. He's got face-melting solos.
I think it's the album where Mike is the most out in front of every other band. I mean, he's like all over an album like Dark Matter as well, but like everybody brought their A+ game to Dark
Right.
Matter. Like it'd be hard to tell you who was the MVP, whereas like this is Mike's MVP
Episode
album.
idea, MVP of the record. We'll put that
Oh,
away.
yeah, that's a good one. I have to add that to
Brad,
the note.
can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is Severed Hand your favorite song on the album? You feel like it's the best overall showcase of the band. Is it your favorite song?
Yeah, I think it's one of my favorite songs of theirs. In their, I would put it in in their catalog again. It'd be another one of those, like, if they played that if I went to a show, I'd want to hear that song. And I like the I think too, like the placement of it and the sequencing. I think when you get those 3 kind of bangers, the Life Wasted, Worldwide Suicide, Comatose, and then you get this bigger kind of drawn out, more sort of like they're flexing their musical muscle there and be like, we have this intro, we have all these parts, we have all this dynamics. And I really like the lyrical content of it, but I think to me that on the album is it's my favorite moment of that album. But I feel like at that point in their career, I think the whole album is this way. But I feel like it's a really strong song for a band of like their 8th. Is this their 8th studio record? Can't remember.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
So the 3 of us, then we chose Mike's. I singled out the Comatose solo because it's just like a mile a minute, and that's just crazy to me. But the Severed Hand solo is also tremendous, and as is the Life Wasted solo. Paul, you want to talk about why Mike? I mean,
It's just it's a blistering solo. I mean, it literally melts your face off. So I'm with Stip on this one. I mean, in particular, that solo I thought was the strongest one on the record.
like that.
You had Life Wasted?
I had Severed Hand solo at
Severed
the end
Hand.
of that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, did you have a specific song there, Stip?
I mean, probably Life Wasted or Comatose, but I'm not going to argue with Severed Hand.
Okay.
And again, like even like with like, Parachutes or Comeback, like even on some of the smaller songs where he's just turning on for a second,
Yeah.
he's so good.
Well, the patrons said, someone said, I'm just going to say Comeback because it's the only place to mention it, and it's one of my absolute favorite songs in the catalog. Oh, there's plenty of places to mention Comeback, my friend. Inside Job, Mike writing Inside Job, Mike McCready's songwriting an Inside Job, Mike's lyrics an Inside Job, period. The songwriting from Mike an Inside Job, Mike coming alive again with a great song. Mike's songwriting on Inside. I mean, I think Inside Job and Mike's writing is the winner from the patrons. Holy crap, you guys were very in lockstep there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do most introspective lyric.
Oh. try to fit this.
You can write the song down and then elaborate if you'd like to help the writing of your whiteboard.
This was the hardest question for this album.
This is your wheelhouse, Stip.
I
is.
had to listen to the 3 times, both mixes. The Brendan O'Brien one twice to settle on an answer.
All right, I just wrote the first line down. It's a few different lines for me. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Oh, I think me and Brad might be very close.
Yeah, we got a left side, right side thing
Me
going
and
here.
me and Brad are going with Severed Hand, I believe, and then Paul. I used to try to kill love. It was the highest sin. And Stip, what'd you have on there?
I just went with Inside Job.
Inside Job.
The whole,
So you guys both Inside Job. So Paul, talk about Inside Job and that lyric that you have there.
Oh gosh, I think when you think about a record like Yield, and some of the songwriting on Yield, and things like No Way, and there's just this acquiescence and this yielding, quite frankly, and I feel like with this particular record and where they went after that, you know, arguably to some dark places with Riot Act and Binaural in the inverse. There seemed to be a rebirth in some respects with many members of the band. And I think for Mike, going through his own personal struggles and his own battles, and the same for Ed, and to kind of come together in a way where you are kind of recognizing, you know, this love boat captain, you know, all you need is love. I mean, just to be able to reflect that there's a period in life where you are resentful and bitter, and you're not aligned with that philosophy because you don't feel that it's supporting you. It's not facilitating growth and joy and happiness in your world. But then to look back later and realize, wow, like that, there's no higher sin than trying to kill love, because, but I think that comes with the caveat that there was an understanding of the power of love before this, and then getting lost along the way, and then coming back around and saying, I can't believe I turned my back on the one thing that could have helped me get through all this all along, you know?
It's a very self-aware line.
Yeah, it really, really was.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I love that read on it. I came to the realization this is just not an introspective album. You know, and I think this maybe speaks to this was a concept album, mini rock opera before, like more than almost anywhere else, Eddie's consistently writing characters. And it's not even like it's a tense situation where the characters are kind of stand-ins for, you know, himself and his own experiences. Like these are songs about what it's like to feel alienated in America in, you know, circa 2006, what it's like to try to survive the Bush administration, what it's like to be, you know, abused by it. But, you know, Eddie's not unemployed, you know, Eddie's not a vet. Even
Right.
songs like Life Wasted he's singing to someone else, like, you know, Comatose. These are like almost, you know, relationship or like self-help advice songs for the country, or, you know, for a person. And Inside Job it's so nakedly personal, it's so emotional, it's so autobiographical. I think one of the things that really makes it stand out on Avocado is how much of an outlier it is. And then, you know, Paul did a great job, you know, explaining to some of the emotional weight behind it.
Yeah, and I think a song like what did I say? Severed Hand, that Brad agreed with me on. I think that I don't know that he necessarily was trying to find an escape, but maybe he was. I think you could go either way on that particular song as far as the personal journey is concerned. I'm not sure if maybe Brad knows. Maybe he doesn't want to give away anything. I know he smokes weed. I don't know what else he does, but how personal this song really is. But I had, if I don't lose control, explore, not explode, a preternatural other plane with the power to maintain. Like a tear and all we know, once dissolved, we are free to grow. What is human? What is more? When we ask ourselves these big questions, like that gets my head spinning. I think we all do this to some degree. You're sitting alone. Maybe you're in a bad mood. Like, what the fuck am I doing? What am I doing with my life? Like, what is this job that I have? What is this relationship that I have? Like, who am I? What am I defined by? What am I defining myself by? What are other people defining me by? And so you go in this circle, this vortex of self-criticism or whatever it is. And so I think that I've always loved those lines, and I thought they do a great job of kind of flipping it around and forcing yourself to look in the mirror and maybe find some answers. I don't know what you think, Brad.
Yeah, no, that whole verse too is the same thing. I had that whole verse, but the explore not explode line in particular. But the whole thing, I think, is extremely introspective because it's talking about being on a psychedelic, and the thing that people don't tell you about psychedelics is that is a like introspection on drugs. Like it's this, you know, it's I always think of psychedelics like an amplifier for an electric guitar. Like if your regular life is just an acoustic guitar, and then people show up with an amplifier and say you can plug into this, and all of a sudden that wooden acoustic guitar goes to this whole other plateau of abilities and sonics and capabilities. Psychedelics do that to you, and that line about, you know, if I don't lose control, explore and not explode. That's one of the problems with psychedelics, is that it's such an intense experience that when you're there, which by there meaning in just the mental headspace, that amazing thing that you can do in your mind, which is you ingest a plant or you know, LSD or something, and all of a sudden you have this mental vistas that you didn't have before, and these visualizations and capabilities to think and contemplate and make connections that never aren't there in your regular life. And you go, oh my God, there's so much more ability to ponder and to contemplate this stuff. But at the same time, reality is being torn apart, and you can easily get lost into that and explode. And so that idea of like, can I go to this mental space and explore with this preternatural other plane? I never heard that word before this album came out, preternatural. Like there's a Pharrell song where he puts in a line, Hermes Trismegistus, which is this weird esoteric character name, and that was like, I was like, points for putting that into a song lyric. But like preternatural is such a crazy, you know, multi-point.
It's a great Scrabble word, Brad.
Yeah, I don't even know if you could put it on Scrabble word, but it's that idea of this otherworldly plane that, and that is exactly what psychedelics do, is they give you this introspection where you are contemplating, exactly to your point, even without psychedelics, just what happens in day-to-day life. Like, what am I doing? What is the point of all this? What does it mean to be a human? What does it mean to be any of this stuff? But he's and I mean, Ed taking psychedelics and being a psychonaut, I think is pretty established and known. I can remember thinking there's some concert where he's singing and hiding, and he goes, I was tripping. He's just ad-libbing in, you know, he's explaining about that song's about his psychedelic experience that he's had too. So I think this song is about him tripping. I think it's about him going on the psychedelic, but then also it's the universe. Like, that verse that he sets up is one of the best, most concise, universal ways to describe that ineffable experience of what it's like to be on psychedelics. And like I said, even though Jason, you just said yourself, it's something that we all experience all the time. If you had a shitty day, or you're just like in your, like, what am I doing? What are any of us doing? What does any of this mean? Sort of thing. But the thing I thought was hard was like, what's the most introspective lyric? Because I thought, to Stip's point, that I thought, like, a lot of times Ed writes for other people. He's writing from the perspective of somebody else, and giving kind of universal introspection. And so then I was trying to answer that question, like, what's the most introspective for the lyricist? Like, who, you know? And I think Comeback is Ed grieving over the loss of his friend. So to me, I was like, I would think that would be for him the most introspective, to have to figure out, like, how does he come to grips with. And you listen to it, he's going through it. Like, I feel like you're still here. I feel like I was talking to you last night, you know? So I feel like that one for the singer is the most introspective, but the Severed Hand thing to me speaks like it's so perfectly to just the concept of introspection, you know, and how you can access those higher states of that. So that was my answer.
Great answer.
I like it. The patrons said, I have no fear but for falling down, so look out below, I'm falling now. Oh, please understand, I just needed my friend away home. That's a great one. Make myself a pact not to shut doors on the past. Walking tightrope high over moral ground. I don't know if that's very introspective, but it's a great line. If I keep holding out, will the light shine through? And then this one I really like. I'm not blind, I can see it coming. Looks like lightning in my child's eye.
It's a great one too.
Yeah, that one makes you think back about yourself too. That's a great one. So thank you, patrons, for all those. I didn't say all of them, but those are some great ones. Let's go to best song live. Everybody good?
Yeah.
In 3, 2, 1.
I swear I have other answers than this song.
Oh my God.
Are you actually are you just keeping the page at this point?
Same
Just holding it
page.
back
I'm
up?
not going to write it again. I just got it already written
I'm
down.
out of paper, so
So-
the answer's severed hand to everything.
So me and Brad both agreed on Severed Hand.
I only had two
Paul
pieces of paper.
had. He's like, I hope it's the same answer for everything.
Severed Hand
Paul
again.
had Comeback, and Stip, you had Inside Job. Stip, let's talk about Inside Job.
So I'm going to make a confession that I hope doesn't get me kicked off of the Discord,
You've never heard this song live, have you?
which is which is a great. Everybody should be a Patreon. It's a great Discord. I am not, or was not, a huge fan of Inside Job on the record. I thought it was a song that had enormous aspirations, and just it never felt huge enough, especially just given how loud and in your face the rest of the record is. It always felt a little flat to me. Like it needed 20% more. It has the cool ramp up mode, but it never hit. And then on the 06 tour, the first time I got it with the lasers and everything else, it's like, oh shit, all right, this is what they were going for.
Yeah.
Like, this is pretty epic.
How much of that was
It's only
lasers?
even really been in recent years. I mean, the lasers help.
Yeah.
But they did it in
So did the
one of the shows I
psychedelics,
saw
I'm
last
sure.
year, like New York, or I forget where it was, where they New York or Philly, where they played it without the lasers, and it's like, wow, this works even without the lasers. It feels like the grand sweeping, like, epic to soundtrack, Mike's own, very personal and powerful journey that it never quite gets to on the album for me, but absolutely nails live, just completely elevated.
Paul?
Oh God! I mean, Comeback. It's a sister song to Black in a lot of ways. I think there's a maturity to it. There's a worn-in feel to it. There's a bluesy feel to it. I just think when they play it live, it's always crisp. It always just feels locked in, and it feels impassioned and fresh. So, for a song to continually feel that way I think a band would be hard pressed to deliver performances like that pretty continually.
And it's not a terribly common song these days. We did get it in Los Angeles here last year. It's pretty powerful. We're gonna get to a category later that I'm gonna talk about it, so I'm not gonna say anything more. Brad, you and I did Severed Hand. Can we just say it fucking rips?
Yeah.
That was a close second for me.
Just blows the fucking rip off the place.
Yeah. Another one, like, again, if it's a
there's
set
that-
list, I'd be stoked. If that's on the set list, I'm like, fuck yeah. Yeah.
And it's a great opener for a concert too. I think you just walk out and all of a sudden it's just that
Intro is
crescendo.
great.
Yeah.
You know, I always think that's a cool thing a band can do when they have enough hits in their catalog, which is like Louis C.K. would talk about when he would do a stand-up act about like folding steel, about like samurai swords that you keep folding it over to make it stronger and stronger. And so he would talk about when his set list, whatever his closer would be, he would make sure that his next set, his closer would be his opener. Because he was going to take my strongest material and put it at the front and then have to make better material that the closer. And it's sort of like the same thing like when Tool had like Sober and they'd end their show with Sober, and then Lateralis came out and they'd open the show with Sober and be like, that was our closer. Now, and I can remember like I saw Queens of the Stone Age and they opened the show with Someone's in the Wolf, and that song's like 5 minutes. And I love when a band will open a show with an epic song like that has this big long thing that you feel like you're at the finale, like there's like solos and everybody's going off, and you're like, are we at the end of like they just got out, and you're like, this is a finale song that they're opening with. So I feel like Severed Hand can be that sort of thing where you just get like out of the gate, like this feels like an encore. It feels like that song. It just has dynamics and good parts, and it goes a lot.
There's just so many good parts to this song, Brad, because it has dynamics. I mean, I love how in the second verse, Mike changes from the main riff to like that harmonic thing. He's just all about the harmonic, and then
That's the best part of the song. I'm glad somebody finally brought it up. For the 19 times we've talked about Severed Hand so far, this is just now coming
Mike
up.
playing the harmonic riff. Yeah,
it's so good.
It's such a great line. Such a great riff. It explodes, and that whole thing, how it builds in that preternatural bridge section where it drops on the halftime and then builds back up, and then Mike just goes, "Oh, here I am Mike McCready." Like it's great. It's so good.
I was thinking, listen to this record. You talk about Mike's solos and stuff like that. That like how impressed I am with the guitar player who every time you have to do like flourishes and sprinkle in just like awesome sauce here and there. I would think after a while you'd be like, is that like I did sort of the same thing on the last song, but to have variety and diversity in all those moments, and then to have variety, and then just anybody can, you can have enough session people that can shred a solo, but to come in there and be like, I'm going to make a totally different shreddy solo vibe wise than I just did on the last 3 songs, or just, there's so many tasteful things where I'm just impressed that he doesn't seem to repeat himself in a way that you would think you'd start repeating yourself and start running out of tricks, and be like, I did this last time, I'll do the same thing but in a different key on this one, or something like that.
Yeah,
I bet you that if you told him that to his face, he'd be like, that's a great compliment for me, thank you very much. Because like he probably
he finds the language of every song, and he somehow figures out how to be fluent in it, and then just says the right thing at the right moment, and then walks away.
He's fluent. He's fluent in all the dialects of rock.
But even to think that too, that like I think so much of the time he's doing those improv, like it'd be like the first take is the good one, or the more he said in interviews, the more he thinks about it, the more it becomes less interesting. And so the idea that he's just being like, just roll tape, and I'm just going to come up with whatever I hear, and that's what's on the record. It's crazy. Like.
He's a really emotional player, but very technically proficient for somebody who is an emotional player, and so he can do these really complex things that, like you guys have said, like I like the language analogy, but he's locked into whatever the emotional needs of this song is, not this is the shreddy stuff I know how to do.
Just look at how many times has he played the Immortality solo, and it's literally just one note bent for the 8 fucking bars until they change the rhythm. And he's just like, is he going to play? And he doesn't even flow too sometimes. He'll just be like, da-doo, da-doo, for like 8 bars. You're like, are you going to play? But then it builds somewhere. It goes somewhere. There's always a reason why he does it.
Basically, like Life Wasted. There's, like I said, there's that like tremolo picking Life Wasted, just droning.
The octaves part?
It's something, it's some under, it's like it goes on for a while, and it's just one note. He might be scaling up as he's going, like sliding up, but it's not a proficient like Eddie Van Halen guitar solo. It's just punk rock noise kind of, and it's killer. Like
sometimes you need punk rock noise, Brad.
I agree.
I will tell you, the patrons agreed with us. They were split 50-50 on these 2 songs, Severed Hand and Inside Job. So kudos, patrons, you got it right. Yay. Speaking of a wow guitar player, let's go now to best wow moment.
Is that again by a musician or like the?
I think however, I think you want
whatever the hell you want it to be, Brad. In 3, 2, 1. Oh, look at Brad cheating the whole album. Jesus Christ. Paul, Inside Job, intro, Worldwide Suicide. What was that? Worldwide Suicide. The what? What does it say?
The scream. Sorry.
The scream coming out of the bridge. And I wrote Comeback's outro. I'm going to go first.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
Paul, you mentioned how great Comeback is. And it is great. It's a great live song. And one of the reasons why I think it's such a great live song is because of that outro. When it gets to that part where both Mike's soloing, but then also Ed's kind of wailing over it, is just like, that's the peak of what emotively you want out of a Pearl Jam song, I think. And they played it a couple of times last year. I mentioned the LA show. I think they played it. I forget where else they played it, but someone will yell at me in the comments. But they've started extending it more, and they just do it for longer. And Mike just does Mike things. And you're just like, yep, that's what we need right now. Just keep that energy right there. And especially if you've felt some kind of loss near to the time that you're seeing it, or near to the time you go ahead and throw your vinyl on the old record player, it's something else. So I think that's the wow moment for me. What do we say, Bradley?
I thought that, maybe like I said, we were talking before that listening to this reminded me, like put me totally back in the moment of time when it came out and was working on it. And I remember at that time being kind of blown away by just the whole record. I thought the whole album was really strong. Not to take anything away from Riot Act. There's parts of Riot Act that I really like, but I think this was better than Riot Act, and I thought it was. And there's points on the Avocado record. The second half for me is probably not as interesting as the first half, but I still think there's a lot of really, really killer stuff throughout the whole thing. And so I think I was reminded listening to it about how impressed I was that again, like at their 8th album, that this was a really strong effort. And I had a buddy of mine who I grew up with, and we were, we got into Pearl Jam and Nirvana, all the grunge stuff right at the same time. And when this record came out, he had made a comment that sort of out of the blue, and we didn't talk that much, but he was like, how about that new Pearl Jam record? And I think there was from fans, I think there was a notice that like this is a good, strong, solid record. And like I said, the first 4 songs just alone, I don't know you have the vinyl. I don't know if side A goes 1 through 4, if it goes to Severed Hand, but like that first out the gate side is, and it's one of those records too, where like you flip it over and there's a mood change. Like I said, the second half of the album is darker and isn't as
this is two vinyls.
Yeah.
So side 1 of disc A, Life Wasted, Worldwide Suicide, Comatose, Severed Hand. Flip it over and it's Marker in the Sand, Parachutes, Unemployable, Big Wave.
That's a solid side A. There's not that many better side A's in the catalog.
That's a super solid side A, and the side B is pretty strong too. But so I just thought like the whole album, and I was thinking about that again today. I was like, this is listening to it 20 years later, I was like, it still holds up. There's still a really amazing musicianship and songwriting and skills and work at play. And I think as much as I wish they didn't write songs and albums the way that they do, I wish they still were kids, or not kids, but younger, and they all got in the same room and wrote more that way than just writing independently on their own. I think this one sounds like a band and just like I said, those first 4 songs, like kicks you in the teeth. It's good. It's a good album.
I remember thinking the exact same thing when it came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do feel like we need to point out as well that Brad's answer was in fact inclusive of Severed Hand.
True. I could have just answered Severed Hand.
Well done.
Wow moment.
Severed Hand. All in the same paper.
You had to use that. You just used your second piece though.
He's out. There's no other answers. Paul, what did you have again? Remind me.
I had the intro to Inside Job.
That's right.
I love that outro of Comeback. I think it's a winner for sure. I think I got to go back to what Stip said, where he was talking about how this just felt big, and it felt like it was going somewhere huge. And there was a time where Stip, you said you felt like it needed to go 20% further. But the reason you felt that way is because the intro was that big, and it had the urgency, and it had this. There was an agency and an urgency to it, and I feel like it was leading us to this place. And you got to remember, we're listening to this record on the heels of Riot Act, and prior to that was Binaural, right? So it had been almost a decade before we heard Pearl Jam go anywhere near big, epic, and huge.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I don't want to say I forgot the band could do this, but I felt like, they were doing something on their own that was this was their Baba O'Reilly. You know what I mean? That's what it felt like it was going when I'm listening to this intro. So I'm getting through this whole record, and I remember I'm listening to the intro, and I'm thinking, this is the greatest album closer of all. I'm like a minute and a half in. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going, but I am already there.
It is. It promises a lot.
It does.
It really does.
It really does. And so for me, it's hard to not still look back at that feeling. And that was the big wow moment for me. Was it's not that I forgot the band could do this, but they just hadn't made a conscious effort to do that. So,
Stip.
So I almost went with a moment in Inside Job and Gone, where both of those moments, songs have moments where like this song just suddenly ramps up and kicks into gear. It's like the How I Choose to Feel moment in Inside Job. It's the chorus in Gone. But I went with that scream at the end of the bridge of Worldwide Suicide. And like to Paul's point, I forgot that, forgetting that the band could do this. Like Riot Act and Binaural, there's no Pearl Jam album I don't love. Those two are at the bottom of the catalog, for me, just for how contained and muted and kind of like clenched they were. And like I always like want my Pearl Jam to feel infinite. And on top of that, with like just dealing with the Bush administration, being in graduate school and like learning the vocabulary to understand what was happening and then really think deeply about it. When I heard Pearl Jam had an album coming out called Riot Act, it's like, okay, this is, they are going to channel everything that I'm feeling right now.
Right.
And instead for that to be such a sort of like lost, confused, like what the hell just happened kind of introspective album, I was still waiting for that moment. Like, and then Binaural didn't have it. There was just that one little moment at the end of Save You where like, like there hadn't been a scream since Do the Evolution, really, other than just like 5 seconds at the end of Save You. And then, even like Life Wasted, Eddie's at the top of his register, almost at that breaking point, but he's still like singing melodically and like just like coming out of that the chorus of or the bridge of Worldwide Suicide, the way he holds that, the way it transitions into that final verse, and the way the guitars are chugging along and they're like a little bit filthy and they're kind of clinging to you in a way that feels almost invasive in the way that the world did. Like following that was like I was waiting 6 years for that feeling in that moment. Like that the reason that you have your favorite band is so that they can give you that moment and help you experience that through what they're doing. And it was like letting out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. And like even now 20 years later, that's not that moment will still get me.
If you'd like more introspective thoughts like that, I highly recommend all of you check out I Am No Guide, Pearl Jam Song by Song by Brian Stipelman and Brandon Rector.
Thank you for the plug.
Huh.
Well, so that was beautiful. First of all, it's all downhill from here. So
Yeah,
screw you.
it's true.
It's not going.
I gotta say what the patron said, and I'll tell you right now, a lot of the wow answers are the cover art.
No, wrong.
Oh,
Or wow,
so there's that.
wow, like, or they're probably like,
Brad,
wow.
you have to answer to that though.
I can confirm, Brad, that there was no. I don't think it was said in the Patreon that you were going to be on this episode. So there is that. That is not people placating you or
Someone
sucking
did
up.
say Paul's answer, which was the loud, the quiet, the intro to Of Inside Job. But there were a lot of the album cover, the choice of an avocado, Eddie going to the market and picking out an avocado, which I think you told us the story, Brad, earlier on the previous episode.
That's all him.
Yeah. Just pass that book.
I just did what I was told to do, and was like,
you know who else did? You know who else did, Brad?
Yeah.
Who else did what they were told?
Who else did what they were told? Did you just take it into like a Nazi thing? You're talking about Nazis?
No. Check out our Patreon.
Yeah. But no, try driving home. You're driving home and you get like you're like, I'm gonna go talk to Ed and we're gonna talk about album art. And you're like, all right, here we go. We're gonna go do this. And then he's like, it should be an avocado. And you're driving home and you're like, what am I gonna do with an avocado? And you're like, motherfucker, is this a joke on me? Am I being punked? Like, is this like
it's been on my wall for 20 years. You did something right.
The sad part too is
oh my God.
he was going for he wanted to go for the I can't think of the guy's name from Pink Floyd now. God damn it, there's a reason why they call
David
it
Gilmour.
No, not the artist. Storm. I can't remember his name. The guy who's did all their artwork and stuff like that.
Okay.
And he had a art company called Pignosis, but it was like hypnosis, but like Pignosis or something like that. And they did. Ed wanted to have that vibe for this record, so I think he wanted to have like this kind of Pink Floyd-y Pignosis, just surreal, image of an avocado. And then also because the way that yield worked was that you would see yield signs out in the world, and it was sort of like actual marketing you don't have to do. I don't feel like an avocado had the same visual effect as the yield sign did. But
I'm looking forward to the next album being a traffic light.
Brad, did you ever ask him why though? Were you ever like, you're looking over the proofs and you're just like, Ed, can you just tell me why?
Yeah, like you're sure, right? This is not a joke.
Yeah, well, I mean, he said it. He
Because it's
said
going
it.
to take me time to do something else.
He said it in the beginning. He's like I said, just everything I just said. He said he wanted it to kind of be a reference, like, or it'd be the sort of surreal thing, like those Pygnosis, if I'm saying it right, album covers, and then also the idea that if you were at the market and you saw an avocado, your brain would be reminded of the Pearl Jam record in the same way that if you saw yield signs, you'd think of the yield thing. And I don't know if that's true. I don't know if Pearl Jam fans.
Yeah, I can say with confidence and with authority, as somebody who does Taco Tuesday every Tuesday with an avocado, I do not think of this record.
Right.
So here's the problem. Here's where Ed blew it. Like, the supermarket doesn't sell halved avocados. Like, you're not picking that one up.
Right.
He had to smell them.
Man.
He had to pick off the little stem guy and go, "Is it green? Is it going to be ripe? Okay." Like, how many did you have to buy to open up to be like,
What was
one?
your art budget for buying avocados?
Yeah, it was.
It's never going to come on the
kitchen-
show.
kitchen
And
knife
someone's
and
going to
avocado.
ask him in like 10 years, like,
Yeah,
why'd you
kitchen
never go on their
cutting
show? Because they don't like avocados. That's
Somehow somebody from like the avocado
I like corn.
board, there was somebody from like a California avocado board that like sent the band a bunch of avocados, or there was some recognition by avocado people, the big avocado, whoever they might be.
Big avocado.
big avocado.
Were they hard to get, like in Washington at the time? And it's like, I know how we can get avocados.
They were the eggs of 2020, of 2000.
It's like,
Yeah.
don't worry, Seattle,
They were
I got
the
you
eggs of
covered.
2006.
We're gonna make
Dave Avocado.
It was the early
Listen
before
here, better.
memes. It was a meme before a meme. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it there, guys. There's a few more, but we'll call it there. We're over an hour here, and that was a good way to end it. So, thank you to our patrons for answering questions, and thank you to Stip, and thank you to Brad Klausen for coming on and helping us do our superlatives for Pearl Jam. Avocado. Whatever you want to call it.
Self-titled.
Self-titled.
Nothing. Pearl Jam, nothing.
Pearl Jam.
What does the band call it?
I don't
Well, I think Mike or Ed said something about how it's self-titled, but they just wanted it to not have a title because they felt like it would be not pretentious. I forget the word that was used, but the idea was that it was just Pearl Jam, nothing.
Yeah.
You know?
You read yourself onto it. I just wonder, like, when if they have to reference it within their own conversations, do they say avocado? Do they say?
Well, I think what would have been
Self-titled.
cooler is if you flip this, Brad, you put this on the cover and then you put that on the back. That would have been interesting.
know. Too late now. Dude, that information.
Yeah. Where was that advice in 2006?
You know what?
Check it out though. But check it out. So then you get the avocado thing, and you're like, all right, I gotta make this avocado, and then they give you these meatheads, these pile of like metal band severed meatheads. That's on like the metal sculpture of Jeff's head, and like the projections that they did that are on the booklet, where you see like that shit's cool, but that meathead thing, I was like, I gotta put this in a Pearl Jam record, like. This does not.
I mean, you had worked with them prior to this, right? Like, this was not hazing.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
No, and I remember just being like, this is so not a Pearl Jam image. Like the one of Jeff, certainly, like I said, the other, like in the booklet, that stuff's super cool when they projected their faces onto molds of their faces. It was neat, but that meat puppet, that meat stack ahead. I remember just being like, I have an avocado, you open it, and then it's this, and then this is the.
Who's hungry?
Yeah, it's just such a.
Anyways.
Oh, man.
You know?
So yeah, I'm gonna thank you both again, even though Brad just
Please do.
walked all over his. What's a salutation in reverse? Is it still a salutation when you say goodbye?
If you say ungoodbye, I don't know what a salutation
Like if you
is
say-
in
if-
reverse is.
Like a salutation is hello, but
Right.
like what's a goodbye? Is it not a salutation?
I don't know. I've never thought about that.
Me neither.
Huh? Homework?
It's a farewell.
Huh? Yeah, how about that?
Happy unbirthday. Something like that.
If you are, a fan of the show and all whatever the hell this is, Patreon is a place to do things, and you can buy a shirt. Hey, Stip's wearing a shirt, the same one.
I am. Good. It's a good shirt.
It's a great shirt.
Great fit, comfortable, lightweight, perfect for the summer.
Paul is reaching for something. I'm not sure what it is.
I think anybody watching or listening, if you don't have one of these two things, go get these two things, because this is everything you need to see, and this is everything you need to read about Pearl Jam right here.
I have them both. They're Brad's book is excellent.
I didn't know you had written a book. I think that's so super cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. Is it
Labor of Love.
Every single song up until when did you start? When did you have to publish it?
Every single studio song, every single album. We had to delay the publishing for Dark Matter, and then I think there's maybe 10 or so of the B-sides and Lost Dogs that felt thematically important.
Oh, but you got up to Dark Matter, so it's pretty recent.
We wrote it for Gigaton, and then they were about to go to press, and like, oh wait, I was at the Austin show with Jason, and Eddie announces that, oh, we have an album coming out next year, and then I was like, I'm emailing the publisher the next day, and then I'm just waiting, like, can they please announce when the goddamn day is? Because if it's December, we'll release the book. If it's April, we're going to ask them to wait.
Yeah,
I had about a week to write the Dark Matter chapter.
That'd be a funny moment.
You can get it now.
Yeah,
you can get it now on Amazon.
It actually ships. You can get it through the publisher. They sold out. They are printing their next round.
Awesome.
Love that.
So you are holding not a first edition, but a first printing version of the book.
And if you have any money left after buying these 2 books and buying a podcast shirt, what you should do is you should donate to Autism Speaks, which is our nonprofit of the month. There's a QR code on your screen right now, and they do great work for the autism community. And Paul, if they spend the monies, $5 or more, they're getting right.
Hey,
are you gonna throw?
Look at us, huh? Who would have thought?
Oh my God! But you don't have one of these guys. You don't have the guitar pick.
No, I don't. No, I am envious.
There's the pin, the matching pin.
I have the pin.
Yeah, and then there's a reverse side in this guy too. Look at that.
Why did you choose State of Love and Trust for the name of the podcast?
We don't have time for that. We don't have time for that, Brad. Call me on this side.
Tell me your
That's
story.
a deep conversation, Bradley. That's a deep conversation.
I'm like the kid who wants.
Did you guys do that on your 100th episode?
I don't know. All
We
I know
did
is
unpack
the
it.
clock is
Yeah,
ticking
it
and
was-
ticking and ticking, and Jason has to edit.
I want one more glass of water.
Jason wants this episode ended.
Tell one more story. One more
Fuck
story.
up, all of you.
Jason,
No
I could
more
just
stories,
speed round
Brad.
my 6 other answers that I took the
I'll tell
time
you right
to print
now.
out.
If you like Brad prolonging conversations with inane stories and tangents, come on and do our Patreon where Brad and I talk twice a month about the posters that he writes or that he creates, and then we go off on these tangents that may or may not talk about how great the branding was of the Nazis.
It was pretty good.
I mean,
Pretty good branding.
Good branding.
why, Brad? Why? You got to be Patreon to find out.
That's true.
Well, actually, you probably won't find out, but you'll find out about like what's it for lunch at TGI Fridays. You'll find out what's
No,
it's
Chili's,
totally
Brad.
different thing.
It's
What?
Chili's. It's
Chili's,
a triple
damn
dipper.
it. Right, Chili's
It's
to go.
Chili's.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you're watching here on YouTube, God knows why, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and if you're listening only, Paul.
They are rating, they're reviewing, they're subscribing on the preferred podcast platform of choice. Feed that algorithm with your rates, reviews, and subscribes because it does not eat avocados. I'm sorry.
Love that. All right, well, we will see you next week. We've got some really great interviews coming down the pike. I'm not going to tell you who they are, but they're fun. And very soon, there's going to be a live pod in Nashville with this guy and not that guy. I'm sorry.
I feel bad.
It's Shihan. Shihan Pereira will be with me in Nashville doing a live pod on May 8th before Nashville night number 2. So check that out if you're in town, and if you're not in town, check it out on YouTube. It'll be live there on YouTube as well. And lots of cool stuff the rest of the month into the summer. My scheduling emails are just like a flutter. All good things. All good things. We'll see you next week. Until we do, you've been listening to or watching
The State of Love and Trust.